Welcome to Her Story of Success, a podcast featuring stories of influential women trailblazers and business leaders who have defined and pursued their own versions of success and fulfillment. We hope these stories, lessons learned, and celebrations inspire you to believe in yourself and enjoy your own journey a little bit more. I'm Leah Glover Hayes, CEO and host of Her Story of Success Women's Business and Media Collective. Today's episode is extra special because I have two of the members of my team here with me. Yay, Claire and Bronte. We are going to be talking about some of the biggest lessons that we've learned in 2020, explaining the ways that we're defining success for ourselves as we start the new year, and sharing some amazing insights that were submitted by a few of our listeners submitted what you've learned from Her Story of Success this year. So to start, Bronte, Claire, would each of you just introduce yourselves and let everyone know what you do with Her Story of Success?
Hi, I'm Bronte. I'm the production coordinator at Her Story of Success. So I help produce the podcast. I write scripts. I help run events, kind of help out with marketing. So just kind of a little bit of everything.
Yes, like a Jane of all trades.
Sure.
Doing it all. And I'm Claire. I'm the executive producer of the podcast, and I kind of handle all of the audio aspects and the creative aspects and creating new content and things like that.
Yes, and if you've been listening for a while, then you've probably heard Claire and Bronte on one of our episodes, a couple of months ago when we were talking about how we built our team with Her Story of Success, and they shared a lot there. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and check that one out. Before we get too far in the episode, I do want to reflect a little bit about where we are today at the end of the year, and where we started and how we got here, because it's been kind of a fun journey. I know that 2020 it's been crazy for everyone. Like we're all in this same storm, but a lot of us are in different boats, and I feel very fortunate for the boat that we're in with Her Story of Success and what we came through. But really, it's because of the team that we have around us. And I think if there's one thing that I can say I'm most proud of, is that I've really surrounded myself with some amazing people. And Claire and Bronte are two of those people that make Her Story of Success what it is. Like, we sound the way that we sound. We are who we are because I have people like you two on the podcast helping me every day. So where we were in the beginning of 2020, so I was still working with Relationary. And by the way, if you're not looking at the video, if you're listening to this just on the podcast, Apple or Stitcher or Spotify, I am sitting in the Nashville Entrepreneur Center in the previous podcast studio where Clark Buckner of Relationary Marketing got me started, Ellen and me. And I am moving like literally this week. So I had to shut down my podcast studio, and I called Clark. I was like, hey, is there any way I can come record the last episode from your studio? And he graciously said yes, and his team of people were working to get me set up. So I think what's fun in that is it's really cool to see where you are in a year. Like I want you to think about right now, like, where were you in December of 2019? What were you doing? Where was your career? Whether it took a nosedive or, is going far, I just want to take this opportunity to think about the lessons that we've all learned in this past year. And it's kind of nostalgic being in the room that I used to record in a year ago before my girls helped me build my own studio. So in the time of reflection, I want to just say thank you to the people that helped me get there. And Clark Buckner of Relationary Marketing is one of those people. He started Nashville Podcasters. He's such a giving person that he wants to help other people succeed. So I'm so glad that he helped me get started. And I didn't have a team. I had Relationary Marketing in December of 2019 and January. So this year we have, I've brought on a team. We have launched a series of virtual events with our client Insperity at the beginning of COVID to get education and awareness for the PPP program that was coming out and all the things that business owners needed. We did a brand relaunch. I hope that you guys noticed that. It was expensive and totally worth it, and it was amazing. And it was so much fun. But we also have really, I think, taken the time and realized who we are. Sometimes it takes a minute to discover who you are as a brand, as a company, as a leader. And what I've loved about this year is it's been terrifying and obviously scary for all of us. But it's also been fun to see growth through the struggle. And when we don't know, are we going to get paid? Are we still going to have a job? Am I still going to have clients? Am I going to be able to pay my people and not be able to sleep at night? And then to be like, oh man, it comes back to, do you believe in what you're doing? And do you believe in what you're building? And the answer is emphatically yes. I get more excited all the time. But for those of you that either if you're in a career or maybe you even own a company and you're thinking in your time of reflection, do I want to continue doing what I'm doing? I want to give you permission to say it's okay to not know. It's okay to be like, I maybe don't want to do my business anymore. I might want to pivot my business. I might want to get rid of a partner. I might want to add a partner. So I just hope that this session, this episode helps you reflect on your own journey and what you've kind of built or changed or pivoted, and hoping that you can take the lessons from that. So what we're going to do today, I'm very excited. Claire and Bronte are going to read some of the submissions from you listeners of what you've learned, what you've taken away, what Her Story of Success means to you, how you've grown. And then they're going to share their own thoughts and how they've grown this year. And I'll sprinkle in some thoughts and ideas because y'all hear from me all the time. So Claire, if you want to go ahead and share anything that you've heard, that you've learned, or if there was somebody's feedback that you read that you want to share, go ahead and do that.
Yes. So just to preface all of the submissions that we did for this podcast, we decided, since Leah, you not only created this podcast for yourself, but also for all of these women looking for advice just like you are. And so we wanted to get submissions and thoughts from the listeners of Her Story of Success to say what their favorite moments are and what they think of, what they define as success for themselves, and because it's really about them. And so I'm really thankful to be on this podcast with y'all to share that with the listeners. So we had a submission from Becky Daniels, and she is the owner of Daniels Business Solutions, and she said she especially enjoyed the Our Story of Success episodes where Leah talked about working with contractors to outsource parts of her business. And she says, quote, "I really enjoyed listening to Leah describe how she frames an outsourced position with Her Story of Success. I really appreciated how important it is to her that anyone interacting with her company has a chance to grow in their business through that interaction. It is such a novel way to grow a business. And anytime you're providing win-win situations with people servicing your business, you will have superior work and superior outcomes. Brilliant." That is so true. It is not only, speaking from my personal experience, just from this whole year and the growth that you talked about that Her Story of Success has gone through, it has been so amazing to see you grow, see what you need to outsource, and kind of learn through you how to do that and when to know to outsource, because I'm getting ready to do that myself. I also agree. The Our Story of Success podcasts were really, really fun to do. I was lucky to actually do the interviews with all the different team members. So it was really, really cool to kind of get the inside scoop on their view of Her Story of Success and their journey through Her Story of Success and how it's helped them. And yeah, it was all really relatable and very fun to experience.
I love that you shared Becky Daniels. So I met Becky Daniels through the events that we were doing with our client Insperity. So that's one of the things we offer now because of that experience working with Insperity and doing events for them, is that now we offer white label podcast and event services for corporations looking to connect with their target audience or even their internal teams. There's some groups that we're working with their diversity and inclusion. So it's really fun that, Becky loved the part that we learned about outsourcing and that business aspect of it. And in the group that I met her in, I learned more about my business and what our capabilities are that I can now sell other products to other corporations. So I love that kind of full circle piece. That's awesome.
You, Leah, got to hear from your mentors. The mentors got to share their stories, and the listeners also get to hear their advice that they're giving you, which is so true. I mean, the win-win-win situation is like, it is such a great way to grow your business, because if all parts and pieces of the business are happy, there's no way that it'll fail,
Right.
And so you could see that throughout this whole entire year, that we have grown so much from the moment you asked me to be the executive producer. And I kind of love that you're in the relationary marketing studio right now, because it's kind of like it's come full circle, and it's like,
because I met you as an intern with relationary marketing. Both of you were interns with relationary marketing. There's a lot of people that do good work. Obviously, you did good work. But both of you mentioned that you were passionate about Her Story of Success, and that you actually I like working on this, because you worked on quite a few. Relationary had a lot of clients. And so thanks for sharing that, Claire. I love that you connected with what Becky said as you are starting to grow your own business.
I thought Becky's answer was so cool too, because, we talk all the time about that idea of you wanting Claire and I and all of your team to benefit from the business and to be passionate about it. And it's really cool to know that someone on the outside can see that. I think that's a really good sign of how well you, Leah, are sticking to Her Story of Success's mission. I think that's awesome. Another really great example of the win-win-win, though, we got a response from Kathy Thomas, Kathy is the owner of Kathy Thomas Photography. She also is the founder of Collective 615, which Leah works out of. So that's just another great example of someone in our community who, listens to the podcast and benefits from it. She was also a guest on the podcast, and she's helping Her Story of Success through her business. So she said she really liked an episode that we did with Lucinda Cross, which that was a really great episode. So I definitely recommend listening to it if you haven't. But Kathy said, quote, "I've taken away so many nuggets from your interviews, but hands down the one that has helped me most when I have concrete boots in is Lucinda Cross saying, 'Don't let perfectionism lead you to procrastination.'" She explained that 2020 has been really difficult, but also has been a year when she felt inspired to dream bigger than ever before. Which I totally relate to, by the way. And she said Lucinda's interview was great because she felt like it was made specifically for her, and it helped her to stop being afraid of failure or judgment. So I just really loved hearing that. So thank you, Kathy, for that response.
I love that about Kathy, because to me, Kathy is that person that is so confident and so, ballsy. She's just gonna go all in and learn and grow, and she's just this ball of energy, but not for the sake of energy. She has such a purpose in the things that she does, and she and I are very similar in that we have this massive dream and goal to I just want to help everybody else succeed as I succeed, right? If I'm growing, if I'm learning, if I'm gaining all of this, success in whatever term you use, I want to give that to other people and allow as many other people to get that as possible. And I mean, that's the whole purpose of Collective 615, is to bring women together and to help them succeed. So I'm like, this is perfect. You will see a lot more with Collective 615. I'm going to go ahead and give you that nugget. In 2021, Kathy and I are all like, we have to do stuff together. So we're going to be partnering together for sure. And I'll say, like, the episode with Lucinda, gosh, she was so powerful, so amazing. And Maggie Bohu, who is the VP of Human Resources at Compassus, it's a massive, large hospice and home care company based out of Franklin, Tennessee. She reminded me of another episode that I learned a lot from, which was with Cynthia Johnson. That was way earlier in the year. And she said that she loved that Cynthia shared, as a professional or a careerist, many of us believe that work will speak for itself and that the experts aren't putting themselves out there because they think the work will speak for itself. And she said it really clicked for her when I said that you have to stop playing the humility card and start speaking up, because she considers herself an expert on some topics. And now, I love this, y'all. She says, now I see that I have an obligation to speak up. It's the people who are speaking up about it who are getting noticed, but also that have the voice and are being listened to. And what's great is, so after Maggie listened to the episode, she actually bought Cynthia's book, and she's going through the process of personal branding. But I have had conversations with Maggie. Maggie, I hope you don't mind I'm saying this. But Maggie is amazing. She knows so much about a certain topic, and I've actually really encouraged her to start her own company. And we had a conversation. I'm like, you kind of have to do this. Not have to, but I'm like, you'd be so good. And it's really cool to see this person that, like, maybe had this, like, oh, one day I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, no, Maggie, you need to do this right now. Like, she's literally, like, writing her book, getting her business plan together. And I will just say, like, for those of you listening, like, I want to meet you. I want to get to know your story. I want to be that person that I have been for Maggie that says, hey, you want to do this thing, like, let's make that happen. And so I just asked her a whole bunch of questions of, like, what do you need? What's that look like? And what's the next step? So I always push her. I'm like, what's the next step? What's the next time you're going to check in with me? So
Leah's
that's been
the
fun.
encourager of all the encouragers.
I try.
Yes. She encourages me and Bronte to pursue our dreams, like, all the time.
Yes.
And yes.
Because I want to see you succeed. I'm like, and that's the thing. Like, one of the things I've done with Claire and Bronte is, I've, I don't know if you're ready to talk about this, but, people come to me all the time asking about podcasting. And you're going to see more on that again in 2021. Because I'm not ready. I haven't been ready yet to make that a service offering through Her Story of Success. But I want to see my people grow. So I'm actually sending people to Bronte. So if y'all need content writers, Bronte's amazing. If you need a podcast producer, Claire is amazing. And so I'm sending them clients because I want to help them build their business and not have to get a job at Sephora to do other things, right? Like, I want to help them grow in the area that they're passionate about. So Bronte, Bronte and I have had conversations like, hey, Bronte, because you heard before, she's a jack of all trades. But I was like, but okay, let's talk about what you're doing with Her Story of Success that you like doing, and what do you want to do less of? And so I want to talk about that for a second, because that's how I'm building this team. Mm-hmm. Claire's done the same thing. So Claire was doing the podcast production, the video. So now Claire has introduced me to Molly, who is doing video now. Hi. So now Molly has joined the team to do video because Claire's like, I can do it and let me get started. But then that's how we decided, like, okay, here's the next person that we're going to bring onto the team because it's something that is needed. And the same thing with Bronte. She's like, okay, well, I like doing this. I don't really want to do this. So that's how we kind of figure out, who needs to be added to the team, or how do we need to adjust and shift around the things that the team is doing, right?
Yeah, I think that's so huge. For me, like, I graduated from college in the middle of COVID, and was kind of starting my writing business at the same time. And so as I'm, like, coming to the end of this year and kind of reflecting, I'm really proud of everything I've accomplished, but I've also noticed, like, just because of the time and because I was just starting out in my business, like, I was really saying yes to every opportunity. And I think that's a really good thing. But it's been really incredible to have Leah as a mentor who's really like advocating for me to start thinking about what I actually want to do, instead of just kind of doing whatever any client wants, starting to really nail down who I am, what I want my brand to be. And I think her story of success has been a great example of that for me. And it's really helped me to explore kind of what I enjoy doing the most, and what I really have to offer in different areas so that I can go out and kind of sell that to other people too.
Yeah, and I think that's a really unique experience to have in such a small business, when there's just a few people on the team, because usually like every person has to do a little bit of everything, which sometimes we do because, it's needed. But Leah also gives us the opportunity to like express what we don't want to do. And she doesn't fight us on it. She's not like, no, you have to do this. Like, she'll be like, okay, I'll find someone else to do it. And that's that. Like, it's a very unique experience for us to be able to kind of pick what we want to do with such a small team.
Well, yeah, and that's funny. On the way here, I was just re-listening to the episode with Lise Wilcox, one of the most previous ones, and I was talking about that. I'm like, I'm building a business based on fun. Like, I want you, I want anyone that works here to like, I want you to love it. I want you to enjoy it. Like, just because I'm the like CEO doesn't mean that you're not your own CEO. Does that make sense? Like, I want you to feel like you're the CEO of your own company. And really you are, because I've encouraged both of you to start your own companies, and do your own thing, because I want you to work with Her Story of Success because you choose to, not because you have to, because it's your only job. Like, that's why I've sent you more clients. I want you to work with other people. It does two things. One, hopefully I am awesome and you continue to love me and you're like, oh, I love working with Leah. But also I'm selfish because guess what? When you go work with other people, you're going to learn something that you didn't learn here that you're going to bring back and make me better. Right? So it is nice, but it's also like, I'm hoping that you learn and bring it back and help me get better.
I think that's huge too for just creating loyalty with your team. And I say this to Leah all the time. She's like, please don't leave, or like, let me know in advance if I'm going to leave. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, because like, it's so rare to have a boss who is just as concerned about you liking the job as they are with your output. And I think if you're someone who has employees or you're running your own business, I really would recommend that you kind of look at what Leah's doing. I think it's really amazing because by setting us up to really enjoy our jobs, we're that much more productive and that much more motivated. And I think it really, at least for me, like it takes my work to the next level because I genuinely, love what I'm doing with Her Story of Success. And so I think that pays off for everyone in the end.
I've seen your growth and it's been amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, let's dive into a few more submissions where we have listeners that were able to apply things to their either lives or careers. Claire, did you have any others that you wanted to share?
Yeah, so another great example of that was the Controlling the Narrative and Preparing for Next series we published at the start of COVID-19. It's from Jenna Carter, who works for Northwestern Mutual. She shared that this series came out at the perfect time, explaining that, quote, it was comforting to hear from women like Nikisha and Gail that life must continue, but it must continue in a more supportive and empathetic way than business operated before the pandemic. Hearing those two ladies among the others in these two short series of the podcast this year helped to really frame my mindset as a professional. It changed the way I communicated inside my organization and how I communicated with my clients. It was really important at the time to hear how other women were approaching communication and business growth as we all tried to find new footing. The overarching lesson learned here is when unsure of how to move forward, that we need to really listen to one another. That is so insightful. That's so
huge.
Yeah, It's so huge. And if there's one thing to come out of this awful year, it's empathy and learning to communicate better and listen to each other, because this is going to get kind of big picture, but like as a society, we're really individualistic And so I think, and that can kind of go bad in some ways where you don't think about other people as much, maybe. And so, yeah, I mean, like Nikisha and Gail kind of like said it all. Like it's so important that we communicate with our clients and with our team and our friends and family, everyone.
And that also ties in really well to something else Jenna said. She brought up one of my personal favorite episodes of the year, which was a conversation that Leah had with Elizabeth Moore and Ashley Brooke James from Tribuna Wellness. They have such an amazing business that I just have really enjoyed learning about. But in that episode, they were talking all about their efforts to bring anti-racism and anti-diet culture together in the wellness space. It really shifted my mindset about how I define wellness from kind of a holistic perspective of just feeling good about yourself and not being restrictive or hard on yourself in any area of your life. It was just such a great episode. And then talking about anti-racism and just diversity and all of those really important topics also, they just provided some great advice about how to be a better ally, which is something that I've been working on. And Jenna also said, quote, "It was so critical and timely to hear about how we all can have a part in creating inclusive spaces, even remotely. Hearing their conversation on race, diversity, and the importance of transparent conversations really encouraged me to dig deeper. I've been passionate about diversity and inclusion for a while, and it was really important for me to hear how others have developed and grown in this space. I know for me that it will be a lifelong journey to understand others and how to consciously include and support the oppressed members of our community, and I hope that I can be as brave as these women." And I just really thought that summed up how I felt about that episode too. And I've really enjoyed, we've had several great conversations about diversity and inclusion in the past year. We talked with Arlen Hamilton about bringing funding to underrepresented founders in the tech space. We've just had some great conversations about making sure that everyone has a place at the table and is able to pursue their own version of success, no matter who they are, what their background is, or any of those things.
I love that, and I like that you love the one with Elizabeth and Ashley. They have like become my friends this year, and it's just fun to see people that you met randomly and then get to know them, and you're like, wow. Not only are you a really cool person, like you inspire me, and I just want to continue to learn more. I will say, like this year, I just was looking back on my little app, of all of the episodes that we had this year, and I'm just so proud of. Like, we had Arlen Hamilton, y'all. Like, Arlen freaking Hamilton. She is such a big deal. Like, Mark Cuban supports her or, invests into her companies. And Will Smith just had her on. And she's been on the cover of, like, Fortune and, I think Forbes and all of these magazines. And, her book About Damn Time, I think everyone needs to read it, because I think one of the things that is a theme in everyone is like, hey, we can all have more confidence. We all suffer from imposter syndrome. And Arlen was like, I don't suffer from imposter syndrome, because when I don't know something, I take the time to research it and really learn as much as I can. And when I am educated on something, when I have prepared, when I am ready, then that takes away the imposter syndrome, because it gives me confidence in what I speak about and what I'm talking about and what I'm presenting. And I was just like, damn, I needed to hear that, like if you're having imposter syndrome, there's something that we can actually do about it. Do you need to prepare more? Do you need to listen to some music that pumps you up? I just love so many people through this year of this podcast. They've all given little nuggets of like, this is what I dealt with, or this is what I went through, but this is how I dealt with it. And it's like, I think that's why I wanted to do this wrap up, is just like, oh my gosh, there's so many lessons. Lori Allen of Say Yes to the Dress Atlanta. She was the cutest thing in the whole world. But what she said was, she's like, you see me and I have this, I think over 100 square foot, 1,000 bridal space, but she started with under 1,000 square feet. She's like, I've had a company for 40 years. Like, don't look at my success and think that it happened overnight. Like, I built this. I started with 700. I didn't go into debt. I built it little by little. I bought a bigger place. And she just talked about how, when she got on Say Yes to the Dress, when she was approached, it's because she had already had a business for so many years and that she had built successfully little by little, customer by customer, treating them well, getting referrals. And so it really helped me when I start to compare, right, to other people that are like way further than me, because I would be lying if I said I didn't do that, but I'm learning, getting better. But it just made me realize, I'm like, you know what? I've not even had this company or this podcast for like, I've had it 2 years. I've only been on my own for like a year and a half. And this company's still like in its infancy. So I just need to be like, you know what? I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, and you just have to put it into perspective, like always. And that's also something that this year has taught us, is to really be thankful for like everything.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, we've come so far. And Lori Allen and Arlen Hamilton are great episodes. Arlen Hamilton was like literally the quote about imposter syndrome. She like said that it wasn't real. And I remember you, Leah, being on the podcast. She said, you were like, what do you do when you like suffer from imposter syndrome? And she was like, I don't. Like, imposter syndrome isn't
Shut me
real.
down.
And you were like, oh. And I was like with you, my mind was like blown. And it's like,
Yeah.
It's like, that's something we never consider.
It was so good. The other person that was a super huge that we had, Rana El-Kalabi.
She was incredible.
She was great.
Dude, that may have been like one of those moments. Arlen was for sure like one of those moments. I'm like, I am now a big deal. Like, I have reached a milestone in this podcast where I'm like, okay, this is legit. The theme is, I want to grow in success so that I can help others succeed. And that's my same heart. And so I love that, like, it doesn't matter if you're in tech or finance or wedding dresses, right? Like, that theme of wanting to make other people's lives, careers, whatever, better or more enjoyable. Like, I love that is like an underlining definition of success. And who was it that just said, oh, it was Kate Kimberly of Miss Spa. Oh my gosh, she was one of my favorites. I mean, like, literally everyone's my favorite, but she was so good because when she said how she defined success, and I know that we're going to get into that, is, how does each person define success? But when she said, success to me is freedom, literally, like, everything in my body, like, relaxed. I was like, Yes, like, and because success means different things, but freedom means different things to different people. Like, and I think just understanding that we can define that for ourselves is just so crucial.
I love that we have people like Arlen and Rana and even Kate that are like really big deals and just people that we look up to. But I think there's so many podcasts that do that. And something that really sets ours apart is that we also talk to people who are kind of on the way there. Like, I have no doubt that people like Brittany Cole and Kathy Thomas and some of these people we've interviewed are going to be huge deals that people know, that everyone knows someday, because they're just amazing. But it's really cool to interview them now just as people that Leah knows and people in our local area. Because sometimes there's so many people that are doing amazing things that maybe don't have like global recognition yet. And so it's really cool to get to hear those stories too and kind of share those with our audience. And I just think we do a really good job of finding guests that just have really amazing stories. And like, every single episode is so good because of the people that we get to interview.
Yeah, and it's really cool to hear their take on how they defined success for themselves. Because no matter what level that they're at, there's a common theme of freedom and like being able to do what you want and stuff like that, no matter where you are. in their journeys of success. And like Becky Daniels' answer to defining success was, my definition of success has been and remains to be having a business that supports other businesses while also supporting my life and family. It is extremely important to me that I never sacrifice the quality of my family life in order to make a little more money. And it is important to me to support business owners so that they're able to have a quality time with their families as well. Talk about a win-win. And
that's so great.
That just goes back to, like, in this country, it's all about the hustle and grind. And Leah, you talk about that a lot. And all of the definitions of success is kind of, they're not around the business and not around making money necessarily. It's about like their values, and Becky's are her family and being able to support other business owners and getting quality time with her family. And so, yeah, it was just really cool to see the kind of common theme between everyone's definition of success.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And then Kathy Thomas also answered this question for us. And she talked a little bit about what success looks like at the end of 2020, which I think a lot of us, our definitions of success have changed this year, whether it's temporarily or permanently, just because of what we've experienced and the perspective changes we've had. But she said, defining success in December of 2020, I'm going to have to say that is just showing up every day, staying the course, believing in yourself, and not losing sight of the dreams and fire you had March 1st. She said success in 2020 looks different than any other year, but that her story of success has taught her that she's not alone, even though leadership can be really lonely sometimes, that there are a lot of women who will show up for other women, and that we can all work together to kind of reach our greatest potential, which I think really is what her story of success is all about. So it's really cool to hear that we've been able to help someone else kind of realize that this year.
Yeah, I love that.
That's incredible. Because I was just looking back through the podcast episodes this year, and I got to interview like 3 of my favorite people, women leaders that happen to be in Nashville, that I think that every person in the country, at least maybe the world, is going to know soon. Sherry Deutschman, she has Brain Trust, and like everyone in Nashville knows who she is. I think if they don't, then they're under a rock if they're in business and don't know who she is. But, she started this Brain Trust, and I got to interview her, and now I'm a member of Brain Trust. I have been for a while. I look at like Sherry, and then Pat Shea, who's like my hero in life, and Marcy Allen Van Mall, who started a company with her husband here in Nashville called Anzie Blue, and seeing her, y'all, she's been in the news so much lately because she started this business, y'all, in November, like a brand new business, retail, and then COVID hit. She has grown, I don't want to misquote, but I think it's like 700 or 900% because she was just like, pivot. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to grow? And so when I think of success, like being able to do what you love, pivot, and I would just say none of these women are 30 years old or 20 years old. Like, they're on their second or third career. And that is, y'all, the most inspiring thing to be like, oh my gosh, the ladies that I look up to are now doing their next thing. They're still looking at season next. They're saying, I have more to give. I have more to do. I have more to accomplish. And like, what does that look like for me? And so I was just thinking, like, as we define success, I'm just like, oh my gosh, all of them have a little bit different of a version, but they all like take care of themselves, take care of their family, love their spouses, and, do work that is meaningful in their lives. And so I just wanted to say that. I want to give those 3 a shout out because they're like, they're my peeps.
Yeah,
and I want them to continue to like mentor me. So ladies, hey.
Yeah, that's huge. Like, even I'm not that age, obviously, but it's like I hear these women in their 40s and 50s talking about the new things that they're doing and the businesses that they're creating. And I know, Bronte, you could probably talk to this too, but it's like I graduated college 2019, And I was like, it's after college, you're kind of just like spit out into the world and they're like, figure out life and figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. But it's like, that's not the reality of it. And that's no one tells you that. It's like,
Right.
you can change your occupation. You can do different
Yes.
things. You can quit your job and create your own business. And that gives me a lot of hope and just relief to know that there's
agree.
something else that I can do.
Yes. And I mean, I love that you noticed that, because that's like the big thing that I try to share with everyone. And y'all know this because I mentor you all the time. But the thing that breaks my heart a lot is when young girls have so much pressure on them and think that they have to have it figured out. I'm like, y'all, I know people at 50 trying to figure it out. Like, they're still figuring out, and they've been successful. But it's like, that's why I mentioned Pat Sherry and Marcy Allen Van Mall, is that's who gives me hope, because I don't know, I might do her story of success for my whole life. We never know. I might sell this company. Somebody might buy it. Somebody might buy me out. Just because I started this company doesn't mean I have to have it forever, because things change. You have seasons in life. I'm not a mom yet. Y'all know I want to be. Like, who knows what's going to happen after that? I might, grow this 10 times, or I might take a step back. Who knows? I think the beautiful thing is that life is a journey. And sometimes you have detours on journeys. And then sometimes those detours lead you to something that you would have never even thought to ask or pray for, and it could be the best thing in your life. So whether it's a detour or, oh my gosh, that detour got me there 2 hours faster, you know what I mean? Or like 2 years faster. So that was really cool that I thought that it was going to slow me down, but instead it sped me up. So I love that you girls are seeing that now, that like, live your life, work really hard, but do what you love while you're working hard, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not grind and then go do what you love. It's like, why don't you do what you love and get paid for it?
And
That's what
learn-
I'm trying to help people do.
And
I
learn to
think-
love the detours.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too, of like, I know we're going to get into kind of our definitions of success, but a big part of it for me, I'm someone who likes to have a plan and likes to have everything figured out, and I don't totally, thank you.
Yes.
I don't totally have one right now. I don't totally know what I want to do long term. But I think that is success for me in some ways. I think giving myself the space to kind of take time to figure things out is a part of being successful. And it doesn't come naturally to me, but I'm trying to view that as a good thing. And like Claire said, sometimes the detours are a success in themselves. And so I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's so true. That's also a huge part of like my definition of success, is kind of just being okay with not being okay. Like, not being okay. Like, really, you're probably okay, but it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Part of success for me is learning to just be happy in the moment. Because a lot of times I'm like always thinking about the future, like, what am I doing next? How am I going to get to the next level? Blah, blah, blah. But if you can just like slow down and calm down and just take a break for a second and see where you're at, and if you're happy, then that's success to me.
I love it. I feel like I'm going to give 2 answers to how I define success today. Personally, how I define success for myself today is living the life that I love, or loving the life that I live. And it's all together, because I think one of the people I interviewed this year was Diana Sumter, who was my national sales director when I was a director with Mary Kay. And she always said, she always teaches people to design the life that you love. And I think success to me is that I live the life I love because I have designed it that way. I have pushed into discomfort in my life enough that I said, what is it about this discomfort What's making this time, this space, this situation, this relationship, what is making this uncomfortable? What's the frustrating part? And learning which parts to remove and which parts to go into more, right? So like whether it was a job or a friendship or a business relationship, just learning that sometimes you have to let things go. Sometimes you have to move on. Sometimes you have to take a step that's scary to get away from what's hurting you or frustrating you. Does that make sense? Like, I hope you don't mind, Anna, but my sister right now, I'm like, Anna, you need to quit your job and go do something else because you're in a toxic environment. And so I do want to talk about that just for a second. So for those of you that are defining success for you today, some of you are going to be like Bronte, Claire, and me, and you're living what you love, and it's awesome. And I hope that you view yourself as successful today because you are, at least there's something that you're enjoying about your life. Like, I don't want to ever view success as something that I need to go get. I think success is something that you should see that you already have, because if you can't see how you have it today, the secret is you're never going to see it. You're never going to find it. And then what are you chasing? Like, to just embrace, like, I am successful. I've built a company. Is it like super like profitable and I'm just rocking out and like I'm like on Forbes like 40 under 40? Nope. But you know what? It's affording me to live the life I love. And so I just want to say, like, if you're not there yet, take heart. There are steps you can take to get there. And that's the whole reason I have this podcast, is to help you take those steps to get to where you can say, I have designed the life I love, or at least I am designing the life that I love. Because you're never done. Like, I've not designed it and I'm here and I'm gonna live in it. No, it's a journey.
Constant.
It's every day. It's constant. So I think that's just something that I wanted to share. I know so many people in my life that, like, they need to take steps, and it's scary and it's hard, but I'm here for you and there's other people here for you, and I want to help you find and build your tribe, because I have a tribe that when I am like literally like sobbing, crying, terrified, can't sleep, I have people that I can text in the middle of the night, or I can call them, or I can be honest and say, shit's blowing up, So I want everybody to have that, and so that's just what we're wanting to provide through Her Story of Success.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. What are we doing in 2021? Who are we? Where are we going?
Yeah.
A couple of the things that we're going to have is, I know people say, like, don't say what you're doing, just build it and show it. But if you know me by now, I like to tell you what I'm doing. So we are building out a membership platform. We are in the process, literally, like after we get off of this podcast, we're going to have a meeting about it so that we can see when we're going to launch it. So we've gotten so much feedback from all of you listeners that you want something more. You want to connect with me. You want to get that mentorship. You want to connect with the people that I'm interviewing. You want to have those mentorship conversations. So we are building a membership platform based on mentorship. Whoop, whoop. We're in the process. And we are starting to offer things for corporations. So if you work for a corporation, or if you know a corporation that would benefit from like events and podcasts that we do white label services. So we'll go in and it could look like it's the companies, and we just do like these live interview events and then networking events. So like where we help you pick out who's going to network with who, why should they network together, what's the purpose of it, how do we get add mentorship in your company. So we're going to be rolling all of that out in 2021. Notice I'm not giving you a date because it's still 2020 and crap happens.
That's right.
So that's what is coming. And so we would love to hear from you. Please feel free to, email us. You can just do info@herstoryofsuccess.com if you have any questions, or if you have any ideas you want to share with us, or if you think that you would be a great mentor or guest or whatever, or if you know some companies that need some podcast services or event services. So we're going to be excited. Did you girls want to wrap up with anything else about what we're going to be doing in 2021?
We talked about, whether or not you feel like you're at a point, in your career or your life where you're successful or you're living the life you want to live. Even if you're feeling discouraged at the end of this year, I think getting through 2020 is a success story. Whatever that looked
Yes.
like for you, we have all gone through so much crap this year, and we're almost at the end of it, and we're going to start a new year. And I'm just really excited personally, and for her story of success, and just for all of you, to get to kind of have a fresh start and have this new year to keep pursuing our versions of success.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Bronte and Claire, for being a part of this wrap up. We hope that you have a great New Year's. Whoop, whoop. And if you're listening to this in the new year, I hope you have a great start to your new year. So thank you for being a part of Her Story of Success, and we look forward to seeing you in 2021. Thanks for joining me. To subscribe, click the circular icon, and to watch the latest episode, click the video on the right. If you listen to podcasts, check out Her Story of Success on your favorite podcast platform. See you next time.